we got a lot of dudes that just like hold on to all this material for some better price later
Oh
and all that
God, don't
stuff.
even get me
And
started.
okay, so I think you and I are the similar minds where it's like you want to move that material, like fast nickels right now.
Turn and
Don't
burn.
turn and burn. Yeah. Sorting wise, what lessons did you learn to keep your sanity and to make things as streamlined as possible?
So the biggest thing, obviously, you're going to have labor costs. So you want to minimize labor as much as possible. Even if you're a one-man show, you should still value
Hmm.
your time. And that's what bugs me about a lot of those guys. They'll sit there and that's like, oh my God, dude, you're spending hours on scraping when you could spend that same time sourcing 500 more pounds of material to make 100 times
Right.
what you're just making there. You have to understand what your value is worth, especially even when you're by yourself. You have to know, okay, this is what my hourly rate is, so you can help adjust that into your sorting times and processing time in
Okay.
general. And then you have to time trials. You need to have a spreadsheet and documentation on taking apart things. Okay, this desktop takes a minute and a half. That minute and a half now costs me $2 in labor. But then you need to weigh in, is this item worth tearing down or shipping out as is to get shredded? Because once you start tearing stuff down, that's going to eat up more floor space. And now you're
Hmm.
going to have all these extra categories of
Yeah.
bins or barrels or gaylords, depending on how big you are. And then the whole other hard part about e-waste is learning the categories, because it's not as simple as scrap metal. So what I
Right.
call a high grade board, Billy Joe down the street might call a mid grade board. Every circuit board's different. You got to teach yourself and teach your people what the core value components of a board are. Am I looking for on this board? Am I looking for BGA chips? Am I looking for IC chips, gold connectors? That's where the value comes in on sorting your material and circuit boards. So you know exactly the more I have of this, the higher chance it is of this category, and just be as organized as possible and try to minimum, again, labor. You want to touch stuff as little as possible and just
Yeah.
keep moving, turning and burn. Obviously, in the beginning stages, you'll have to tear stuff out while you're waiting to get more clients, but you still need to know your numbers and know what is doing this worth. You need to know exactly, okay, a TV remote makes me hypothetically 20 cents. So you can calculate, is this client even worth it? Let's say it's a TV shop. They produce us 200 remotes a month. It might sound like a lot, but when you actually do the math, it's only $10.
Right.
So it's
Right.
just stuff like that is incredibly important to know.
You mentioned some good point about learning components because components can be indicators of value, right? That's the biggest indicator of value.
Right.
And so knowing your components helps you more quickly sort, which helps you more quickly make money because the cleaner the sort, the more you're going to get paid out.
Oh,
As far as tearing down, when you started, what are the items that usually have good wiggle room to tear down? What items
yeah.
should you just avoid entirely?
On the e-waste side, any processors or memory, you pull out of desktops and laptops. Obviously, newer laptops. There's lots of value in the soldered on processor boards. If you have the copper aluminum heat sinks, and then obviously the boards themselves, depending on what type of category it is.
Hmm.
Because generally speaking, the refiners are looking for is the precious metals, which aluminum is not precious metal. You have to change your mindset a little bit if you've been a normal scrap metal person, because it is a little different. Aluminum does not add value to a downgrade if you have it on a motherboard. Same with steel, because they're after the gold, silver, palladium, all that good stuff. And even again, some processors we don't even deal with just because the recovery amount isn't worth the labor, and when we could be focusing on something else. When you're a solo guy, it does add up. Hard drives are valuable. Those are right around £1 each, and prices can vary from 60 to over $1 a pound, depending on who you're selling to.
I'm developing something which I'm calling a brawl score. Like when you brawl someone, you're fighting with it. It's the same
Sure.
concept. You're fighting with this item to break it down. So it's BRAWL,
Okay.
and B stands for the benefit. R stands for your return. A is availability, meaning how easy it is to find these things.
Sure.
W is the byproduct waste, like does it have a lot of plastic in it? And
Oh,
then
yep.
L is labor cost, like how much time will
Right.
it take you? I'm trying to come up with an easy grading system to grade items where a desktop sounds like it's like an A plus for biggest bang for your buck, just breaking down.
That's where we can tie it back to the whole time study concept too. So that
Hmm.
will give you a material breakdown of all those different items. So let's say desktop, we're getting
Right.
30 cents a pound complete. So we toss that out and we get X amount of dollars. Or if we break it down, put in the labor, break every material down,
Right.
every individual component's worth, you'd know
Sure.
exactly the individual weight of everything, like the plastic cover to everything. We have spreadsheets, so with like the formulas input in. So let's say it has every individual weight broken down. It has the time. And then all you have to do is plug in what you're getting paid, your return on the
Right.
items, and then plug in your current labor costs, and it'll calculate it all for you. So then you're okay. Actually, our net profit on this desktop is $8.
And that goes with what the price of aluminum and copper or
Yep.
steel is that day. Is that something you found online, or did you develop that in house?
A little bit of both. I've had a bunch of friends and contacts I've made just throughout working with this, and that's something they've recommended. And I've just
Right.
learned from a lot of different companies that everybody does it. You got
Yeah.
to know your numbers on what everything is worth.
Is it
You have to
really?
really
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Right. So I am writing a book about starting in your backyard. How I got started,
Yep.
going to yard sales, Facebook, sourcing material,
Oh yeah.
breaking it down or reselling it. You can make a living doing this as a
Oh,
solo entrepreneur. Essentially, it's backyard urban mining. If you buy the book, there's a subscription. You can also be a part of a Facebook group. And I'm trying to find little ways to add value to these folks. And I think actually creating some kind of backyard urban mining spreadsheet would be a good
oh,
idea, man.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
You heard it here on this video, folks. Dylan's idea.